Second part of your notes, guys, example 3. This is something that some of you I know have learned before because we've talked about this and you've mentioned it. How do you distribute more than one term? For A, you have x minus 4 squared. And remember in our notes when we saw something like this and I said, if you distributed this exponent and you wrote down x squared minus 4 squared, that is wrong. You cannot distribute the exponent. Do not do that. Okay? So let's actually expand this out. X minus 4 quantity squared can be written how? Well, this is really x minus 4 times x minus 4, right? You actually are distributing twice. What you're doing is you're taking this first term, x, and you're going to distribute that to the first and second term over here. So you're going to have x times x, and then you're going to have plus the x times the negative 4. So you're distributing that x to both terms in the second quantity, and then you're taking this minus 4, and yes, I'm going to circle that minus sign with it, and you're going to distribute this to the x, and then also to the minus 4. So we would have negative 4 times x, and we would have negative 4 times a minus or negative 4. Guys, this is actually called foiling. And this FOIL word, I know some of you know it, and that's fine, you can use it, but it is a shortcut and it's not really the technical word, and we'll see that on the next example. But what they mean by FOIL is this first term are your first two terms being multiplied. Take the x times the x. I'm going to rewrite this up here so we can see it a little bit clearer. X minus 4 and x minus 4, right? So you take the first times the first over here. Then you do the outsides. So in each binomial, you do the terms that are on the outside multiplied together, which would be the x times the minus 4. Notice that's your second term right here. Then you would do the inside, which would be the negative 4 times the x. Take a look, we already actually drew that line down here. Negative 4 times the x, that was your third term. And you did the first terms multiplied together, so do the last terms multiplied together. The last terms in the polynomials would be negative 4 and negative 4. We multiply those. That's what we did right here. So you can use the word FOIL if you like. However, the word FOIL only works for a binomial times a binomial, which is why it's not my favorite. Okay? But it does help you when you're first learning this. So you do the first terms times each other, outside terms times each other, inside terms being multiplied together, and last terms being multiplied together. Now you just do each term. X times x is x squared. X times a negative 4 is a minus 4x. Minus 4x again. And then negative 4 times negative 4 is a plus 16. Always check your answer. See if you can combine any terms. Do you have any like terms that can be combined? Yeah, right here. So we're going to have x squared minus 8x. We're not multiplying anymore. We're just adding them together. Negative 4x and negative 4x. And then plus the 16. So again, you might hear me call this foiling. You might hear your high school teacher call it foiling. That is a shortcut word for first, outside, inside, last. Again, that only works for a binomial times a binomial. What I would really like to call you, what I would really like for you to call it is just we're distributing. And in this case, because there's two things to distribute, we're going to double distribute. So you're going to distribute this first term to every term over here. So we would have 8m squared times the m squared. And then you would do the 8m squared again times the minus 3n. Once you distribute this first term to everything in the second quantity, there's nothing else to give it to, right? So now we're done with this. Move on to the next term. My next term is the minus n. I'm going to take that and give it to each term in the second quantity. until I run out. So I'd have a minus n times negative 3n. When there's nowhere else to go, you're done. Now you need to multiply each term that you have. So what's 8m squared times n squared? Multiplying the same base, add the exponents. 8m squared times a negative 3n. Positive times a negative gives me a negative. 8 times 3 gives me 24. And m squared times n, guys, those just have to stay right next to each other. They're different variables, so you can't add their exponents. Next one, I'm going to rewrite this so it's m squared n, because remember we want to put them in alphabetical order. And then the last one, a negative times a negative is a positive 3n squared. Always check to see if there's any like terms that are there to be that you can combine. These two are like terms. And notice it does help if you rewrite this so that they are in the same order. So we would keep the 8m to the fourth, and we would keep the 3n squared. We just have to figure out what goes in here. We have a negative 24m squared n and a negative 1m squared n. Altogether, it's a negative 25m squared n. Makes sense? If you have any questions, please write them down on the bottom of your notes so you can bring them tomorrow in class and you'll remember them. I know you might think you'll remember the question, then you get here and you forget it. So if you have a question, please see me. On example 4 then, we're going to multiply a polynomial times a trinomial. So we're going to have a binomial times a trinomial. You're going to distribute each term here. I want you to do this one on your own. Try it. Well, you can try it with me while I'm doing it, but try to do it yourself. We have the 2x times the negative 4x squared, 2x times the negative 10x, and 2x times the plus 3. So write that out. I would just always put a plus sign in unless this first term is negative. There's nowhere else to go with that 2x, so we're moving on to the next term. We're done here. We can go on to the minus 5. Now I'm going to have starting with a minus sign. It may help you if you kind of think ahead and try to line up your terms. For instance, I know this is going to result in an x cubed. This term is going to result in an x squared. Well, when I do this distribution, what is this term going to result in? Negative 5 times negative 4x squared. It's going to result in an x squared. So I'm going to write this one over a step. I'm just going to bump it over so that my like terms are going to be lined up for me. And I'll show you what I mean in a minute. Then I'm going to have negative 5 times negative 10x. And then last one, negative 5 times a 3. You know you're done when you've given it to everything in the second quantity and there's nowhere else to give it to. I'm going to kind of draw a little line here, and I want to simplify each term first. So this 2x times negative 4x squared is negative 8x cubed minus 20x squared plus 6x. Now move on to your second row. Negative 5 times the negative 4x squared is a positive 20x squared. Negative 5 times negative 10 is a positive 50x. And the last one, negative 5 times 3 is a negative 15. Now take a look, guys. Your problem is all lined up for you. So if you think ahead, you can make it nice and neat and easy on yourself instead of just writing it across the page long ways. So we'd have a negative 8x cubed. These are actually going to cancel each other. So we have a plus 56x and then a minus 15. Negative 8x cubed plus 56x minus 15 is in standard form already, so you are good to go. All right, I want you to try example 4b. As part of your exit ticket, you'll put your answer in on the quick check. You're also going to do a couple of the challenge and extend on the quick check as well, so you can work those out at the bottom of this paper. For B, I'm going to get you started. Write it out, write what it means. X plus 3 cubed is actually x plus 3 times x plus 3 times x plus 3. Guys, do 2 at a time. Just do these first. Multiply that out and get your answer. Once you get your answer, you'll take that one times this one. Okay, that's my hint to you. So again, this is a lot. Just double distribute or FOIL these two together first and simplify your answer. Then you can distribute this x plus 3 to that answer there. You'll put your answer in on your quick check when you're done on Blended Schools.